Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast. Oh, man, it's your favorite podcast. I know. We know. And it's ours, too, for the record. We're our own biggest fans. Thank you for joining here. By the way, if you've clicked off by now, I completely understand. I'm Alex VR.
And I'm Skiva.
Oh, and you're Skiva. And that's Skiva.
That's me.
How you doing, bud?
Good. How you doing?
Quite well.
Dude, there is... I sound like a broken record because I do say this a lot, but there is truly so much happening in VR right now. Like I can barely contain myself.
Yeah, and it's like this is like the first time you've been actually right about that. You know, you always
that is not true. There's always a lot going on.
You're right.
I'm always very excited about it.
But you are exceptionally right.
All right,
now.
there we go.
There is so much happening in the VR space. It is not even funny. There's tons and tons to be excited about right now, which is why we're here.
Yes.
We're here because we're excited about virtual reality, and we have a feeling that you are as well. If you're here watching or listening, you probably love VR just like we do. And this should be a fun conversation because there's a lot to talk about in the VR space. There's a lot to talk about as far as the future of VR and stuff is concerned, and we're going to be able to dive into all of it today.
Yes.
So I'm
stoked.
Let's go. Really, really good. So hello to you out there in the live chat. Right now, it's Friday. It's September 23rd. And this year is just melting away.
Dude, it's almost gone.
I feel like it's already CES.
2022 is a blink of an eye. I know. I'm planning for CES. I already got my hotel for CES.
It's right there.
That's nuts.
It is nuts.
That's in January.
The year is over. So, but it's January now.
Wow.
And you might be catching this thing live on YouTube. And if you are, hello, it's so good to have you here with us. We're going to say hi to everybody in a second. But maybe you're not live. Maybe you're watching this on uploadvr.com as we are officially correspondents. We are official correspondents for Upload VR. So the show is on Upload, and you might be right there in the browser. And if you are, just stay there. It's fine. You can watch this in the browser. It's cool.
That works.
Upload would appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so would we. And maybe you're catching this on like Anchor or Spotify or something. And if you are, thank you.
Yes.
You're the real MVP. You're like the Dark Knight.
Heck yeah. Agreed.
The hero that we don't deserve, but we need. So hey to everybody who's here for the live chat. We've got Indie VR in the house saying what's up Friday. That's right, dude. Mr. Tasselhoff, who just popped in to say hello and who is on his way. I'm having such a hard time deciding which of his keychains I want to put on my keys. Like, I don't know if I put like the Valve Index controllers or if I just put the Beat Saber blocks or if I put the Quest 2 controller. Cause I can't put them all on
Next week, we got to have all the stuff that we can show people because Mr. Tasselhoff has an awesome 3D print store and he prints all kinds of things from gun stocks to like golf club things to Beat Saber blocks and keychains and all kinds of cool things.
The blocks are beautiful.
They are. They're gorgeous.
Yeah. Mike Newton says The Weekend. You're damn right, Mike Newton.
All right, Mike.
Creator. Thank you, dude. Thank you for being one of our amazing Patreons.
Thank you.
If you're a Patreon on this show, we do not express our love to you often enough. Like it really means a lot to us.
It does. It helps us with a lot. It really, really does.
We've got dreams and aspirations, all right? And dreams and aspirations aren't free, regardless of what people do. Cost money. Roodle's here. What's up, Roodle? Thanks for being here.
Hey.
Roy Boy in the house.
What's up?
It's BR time, my favorite time.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Ours too, brother.
Beautiful.
Ours too. Rezel's here. What's up, dude? Thank you, man. Thank you for being here and being so generous as you always are with your time and energy. The VR Realm, Paul, what's up, brother?
Hey, dude.
Thanks for being in the house. We've got Snow Toad here.
Hello.
Oh, we got a little German Rifter. What?
Daniel.
Burning the midnight oil with us, with the BR fam. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Beautiful.
Arcanian says, what's up, VR fam? What's up, Arcanian? Thanks for joining us, bro. We've got Duggars K in the house. Hey, Duggars K. Virtual Steve. Ooh, he's pumped about Steve. Bone Labs. Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
CreeperBetty VR.
What's up?
Betty? Thank you for being here, Miss Betty. Space Denizen's here. He's the dude. His Void Citizen. He's out. He is existing in space. Okay, people. He exists in space. Laszlo 216. Yo, what's up? He says, now we know the weekend started. Man, yes. I love the Between Realities community. It's just way too good.
It's the best.
Yeah. Like Leroy Dorenberg, which is a name I've never said out loud on the show. Thanks for being here and being in chat, Leroy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And Chris Haney from Space Pirate Arena and Space Pirate Trainer.
What's up?
Yeah,
the legend.
If you haven't watched our episode with Chris Haney, go back and check it out.
You should.
It's really good. Glitch Fandango's here. What's up, man?
Hey, Glitch. How's it going?
Glitch is just rising in the ranks of Ultimex. He has a new life. He lives in Ultimex now.
He is living the life of a mech. I love it.
He is. MindJive is chilling here as well. Thank you, MindJive, for hanging out with us on this Friday. So we go to events, as we've mentioned in the past, and we share constantly.
Been to a few.
Yeah. Hussein X. What's up, baby? Hussein X in the house. We go to events, and one of the more recent ones that we went to was VRTO in Toronto, right?
Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
International traveling, which doesn't feel like it.
I know. I know.
Like I forget that I'm traveling internationally when I go to Canada, which doesn't happen often. But
great country, beautiful, lots of greenery, awesome people. So
I loved Toronto.
Me too.
Actually, it really surpassed my expectations.
Same.
I had a great time,
Yep.
and we also had a great time at VRTO, right?
We did.
Where we saw a handful of exhibitors, but really it was primarily about the talks. Like there was some very thought-provoking and engaging talks. And today's guest gave a presentation at VRTO that we absolutely loved. And as soon as we heard this guy talking, we were like, all right, we definitely need to get him to come and join us on the show. He is an inventor and artist, and he creates stuff, and he thinks about virtual reality from a really awesome and unique perspective. And we'll dive into a little bit more about what his talk was about once we get him on the show, which we're going to do right now. So please, everybody, welcome to Between Realities, Mr. Tim Bettridge. Hello, Tim.
Hey.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Am I in now?
You are. There's a delay on the YouTube feed if you're watching.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, about 20 seconds.
You are in. How you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
Hey guys, great. Doing great. One, I'll give you a quick lesson on Toronto is on the pronunciation of Toronto. And this is not something that is widely known, but you do not pronounce the second T.
Toronto.
Really?
Toronto.
Wow.
Really? Interesting.
I like
Toronto. Okay. I will try to remember that.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Toronto. Just
Toronto.
like that. It's easy, rolls off the tongue.
Nice. Cool.
Boom.
All right.
Well,
I like being in the know.
yeah, it is much simpler. And I guess I like try to enunciate when I'm like using, like talking about places that I'm not from and like all of that. But
Toronto.
yeah,
Yes.
Toronto.
Oh, it's actually like
Toronto.
95% of the world gets it wrong. It's just anybody in Canada will be like, it's Toronto. That's fine. Yeah, now you know.
Thank you. Now I feel like we've been inducted as like honorary Canadians.
Honorary Canadians.
or Torontoans. Is there a word for a
Yeah,
resident?
Torontonians. Yeah.
Torontonians.
Yeah, you do say the T when you say
you do?
Torontonians. You
Oh,
have to.
because it's Torontonians.
Yeah, you do. It's a weird thing. You just pointed it out. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I don't even know what to believe anymore.
Life is a lie.
So, Tim, did I mean, it was a pretty hodgepodge explanation of like what you are and who you do, but did I get close? Like, how would you introduce yourself, or what would you say that you are? What do you say hi to everyone?
So I wear a lot of different hats, and that's fair, but my design practice and my career up to this point, I'd say I'm a product designer or a UX designer. I'm also a founder of Voice Tech Global, and I would identify as an artist and a creative technologist and maker of things. A maker. That's good.
Maker of things. Well, we're makers of things too, but probably not to the extent at which you are. I assume you have.
No, absolutely you are. I'd say we all are. And you guys are a maker of the spaceship that we're on right now.
That's true. Yeah, we are on a spaceship, and I guess we are perceiving our realities here, and we're just making it all in real time or something.
Absolutely.
That might be a conversation for a little bit later in the episode.
Yes.
Tribe Grey Wolf is hanging out. What's up, dude? Oh, that's right, dude. Oh, man. Oh, God. We're going to give this guy like a complex, make him think he's a big deal or something.
He is. He's Tribe. Love Tribe.
I know. And Swift P's chilling with us, too.
Hey.
Oh, Mike Reynolds. Yo. Andy's VR reviews as well. Yeah, the friends.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, friends. So before we dive into your Toronto talk, and all of your projects and kind of in your perspective on VR, which I'm really excited about, actually. I think this is going to be a really good Between Realities episode. There is VR 180 Clips is here. I think we know maybe who that is behind.
Oh, that's actually me.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's just a YouTube channel that I have, and it's just literally VR 180 video streams, and I have no narrative to the YouTube channel. It's just literally a place where I dump family videos that are all VR 180.
Oh, cool! Nice.
Everybody go follow Tim's family videos.
I appreciate it. I got 501 followers. So
he needs more. Let's get him to 531.
Sure,
that's how many we can get you today. So before we get into all that fun stuff and your awesome YouTube channel, there is so much happening in the VR space right now. Skiva is like bursting at the seams over here. Like he can barely contain his excitement. What do you want to get into?
Oh man, what do we reach into the pot here and pull something out? So let's go back a little bit, because last week we wanted to dive into some of this stuff and we didn't really get a chance to, and that's okay. But real quick, let's recap a little bit. So we had some good stuff happen with there was a leak in the community regarding the Quest Pro. So that is kind of out there. It was a very strange video, right? It was this Quest was left in a hotel room, and the person came in to throw away the stuff, happened to check in the bag, saw that there was unreleased headsets in there. So it was a hotel worker that just happened to know VR and happened to have a gaming channel, which is very strange. So he pulled this thing out, he filmed it, and he released it. And later on, I guess that next day, they came and they picked this up. The people who left it there, I'm sure those people are probably fired. But it is what it is. We've got to see real quick what the Quest Pro looks like, and it looks great. Kind of looks like all the leaks that we've seen over the the months, and all the renders and everything.
It's tracking.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right?
Shout out, sadly, it's Bradley trying to post an early. He's not here yet.
Oh yes,
yet.
You
better be lurking.
Yeah, but the rings from the controllers are gone. The controllers are tracked by cameras on the controllers. We have very thin types of LCD panels with pancake lenses, a very thin, sleek front of the headset with battery and everything on the back, and it kind of distributes the weight. And it's everything we knew it would be, but it's all confirmed now, right? So we know what's happening. There is the event where they will announce this at what do they call it? Connect, Meta Connect, Facebook Connect, Oculus Connect, who the hell knows? Whatever Connect it is right now, they are planned to release this, maybe release it and put it on sale. So we have a new headset incoming here, which is super exciting. I don't know, I'll give you guys a chance to say whatever you want on this before we move on, if there's anything you do want to say.
I'm just going to say I actually think it looks amazing, and I'm hoping that I get my hands on one without having to reach into my own pocket for it.
That'd be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah, and just the camera track inside out tracking on the controllers themselves now. So that's how the 6DoF is done on the headset. Now it's on the controllers. We don't need the infrared rings anymore. It looks nice. I'm curious, and I'm sure we're going to see an even greater improvement on the accuracy and the refresh rate, but also what other tricks is it going to do? We were talking earlier, and we can talk about that in a bit as well, the full body tracking that was shown off today, running on a Quest. So I'm curious if having more cameras now in the controllers as well is just going to improve things like spatial mapping of the room that you're within or the space you're in, because you have more data points now that you have the controllers as well, or if that's going to improve accuracy of body tracking. It's pretty exciting.
It's really exciting.
It is.
There's a lot of games that I've played in VR on my Quest where I'm reaching behind my head for stuff, and I'm like, my arms are disappearing behind me, or I'm looking way over here and I'm trying to grab for something over here and I'm missing it. So I feel like that those kinds, and I know it's not like a gaming machine or whatever, but I do feel like that it would potentially be a solution,
And I think it's only not called that because of the price point, right? Because they're not going to be selling it at $400 or whatever, like the Quest is designed to sell it right now. So, but where it's going to be able to play everything in the Quest store, how is it not, right?
Yeah.
So, but we also have the possibility of full color pass-through mixed reality as well, which is super impressive. It's something that I've been dying to get my hands on ever since trying the Lynx R1 with its color pass-through augmented reality, and I'm stoked. stoked for all this stuff.
Yeah, to be honest, man, like full color pass through for me like doesn't excite me that much. Like I am excited by AR. Like the Magic Leap, like that shit is amazing.
Because that's real life.
It's not a video, right? Yeah, it's not like a video,
right.
But I feel like I'm watching a video like pass through.
Yeah, this is very much the Atari phase of this whole thing, right? We'll see Apple bring this a little bit further into where it should be with their headset, with color pass through as well, until eventually we get to a place where we can do pass through of just clear lenses like the Magic Leap efficiently with good chipsets that can run some of these great experiences. But we're on our way. The car is taking off. We're driving down the road. We're banking on all the forks, and we are on our way to an augmented future, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
So
maybe we should touch on that full body tracking, since we're here talking about Meta.
Yeah,
do you have an image of that?
I do. I have. So I pulled the video real quick, and I feel like, this is very interesting, but from what I read real quick on this is kind of like inverse kinematics using a neural network to estimate where your body is compared to the controllers in the headset location, and it is using AI to kind of put together where everything else should be. So if this guy kicks his leg up, will it follow? I don't know. I don't know exactly how this is going to work. This is very early testing phases. This doesn't require any other sensors, no cameras looking down at him. It's just what the headset can see, and then feeding it through some AI, on Meta's side. So this is interesting. This is interesting, but it's a step forward, right? This is great that companies are working on stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. What I'd like to see is if you can lie down on the ground and look up at the sky. Is that going to track, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen the Microsoft Kinect camera, the motion tracking camera repurposed to do full body tracking. And that's something where it will struggle if you're, it can get you from one side, but the idea that it's inside out, it's using the cameras that are on device, to me is more promising, because it means if I turn around, the cameras are still in the same place. I don't have to have multiple cameras like I used to use with the Vive, the lighthouses around the room. Instead, it's all on device. But I really want to see, can you, like you said, can you kick your leg out? Can you crouch down, behind a boulder or something like that in a game where you want to hide and sneak out? Or if you want to just relax, can you lie down on the ground and look up at the sky? But this looks good. It's promising, the video that you're showing right now.
I'm guessing that this is more like, it's going to try to place you in game to increase your immersion in the game, but it's probably not going to be like lie down, kick your legs up, pole dance and VR chat and things like that. I think this is more of I know there's a big thing in there, right?
It's really good too.
It is. It's pretty crazy.
I was blown away when I saw someone pole dancing in VR chat. Like I didn't go in there for it, but I wound up there and I was feeling stuff. Like I'm like watching someone do these moves in full body tracking in a real pole, and I was like, do I like this? Like I think I like this. Like it was really good.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. So I don't want to stick on this too long, right? Because there's so much to get through before we.
But I will say before we leave it, like I think it's important to pay special attention to those green orbs in the video on the right hand side, because those are like the data entry points, or I don't know. I'm not a dev, all right? But like those are like the spots, like there's the headset and the two hands, and then the rest of the animation is being contrived out of the information just from those controller positioning and headset. So to your point, just adding this to something like that you're already playing, like After the Fall, for example, to like see like the way more natural movements of everyone as they're lifting their guns and stuff like that, and just moving. Like I think that just implementing that in its current state right now would have a pretty profound effect on the immersion when it comes to multiplayer experiences.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, so many games will benefit from this, just with enhancing your immersion. Right?
But they have to be multiplayer, because you have to be perceived by someone in order for this to matter.
But when you look down and you see your body doing kind of what you're doing, it does connect the dots a little bit more, right? So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, either way,
okay.
This is good stuff.
So whatever.
It's all
cool.
Good stuff.
Full body tracking from Meta.
Full body
stuff
tracking
is happening.
It is. Lots on the Meta front. Also, lots on the PSVR 2 front as well, as PlayStation has released a full trailer, has allowed news outlets and influencers to come in and try the headset for the first time. We now have way more information on this headset than we've ever had before, and we have confirmation that it's more awesome than we ever could have hoped it would be, and I'm pretty stoked about that because this has been my most anticipated headset since the PSVR 1.
Yeah,
nothing
really
has
stoked.
Overhyped me than this.
I'm really stoked. My PlayStation VR experience, like when it was the only thing that I had, was amazing. I loved having the PSVR at my house, and I have so many fond memories of like becoming acclimated with VR at home using the PSVR that I cannot wait to wipe the dust off of my PS5, put some power behind that thing, and I have a really legit headset with really legit controllers in legit games. Like Firewall Ultra looks amazing, dude.
It
like
does. It
I
looks
promise you, I am going to be in there a lot. Like I can already tell I'm going to get addicted to that game.
Yeah, and Firewall Ultra here with the eye tracking weapon selection. That's pretty cool.
You know, I've seen a couple of people with polarizing opinions on that, you know, and I wish I could remember. Oh, Ben Lang. Ben Lang was like, hey, how long till everybody realizes that picking stuff with your eyes is not as good as it sounds? You know, like, just let me pick it with my arm like I already am used to doing. Thank you, you know?
Yeah. You know, and it might be great. It might not. For certain situations, it's going to be fast is the thing. As soon as you look at something, it's already selected. Boom, you're there. You grab that gun really, really fast instead of reaching out to get it. Sometimes you stumble and you hit the wrong gun and you're under fire and like, you know.
But maybe it's not intuitive, I guess is the point, right? Like we're not used to selecting stuff with our eyes.
I'm curious, have they mentioned using the eye tracking for foveated rendering?
They have dynamic foveated rendering, which is huge, right? Which is how they're going to get some of these crisp 4K, amazing HDR images without dropping frames by only rendering at full capacity at the very center of where you are looking. Me and Alex have tried some dynamic foveated rendering back in the day at a CES event with a Pico headset.
Pico Neo 2.
Yeah. And they did a thing where they had the foveated rendering off. You saw the frame rate, they turned it on, the frame rate went up, and you perceived no difference at all because the peripheral of your vision is naturally as blurry as they put the image on the sides, and you can't see it. And you go to look, and the rendering follows your eyeball. So it's very much going to help performance, get us to where we need to be with frame rate, with ultra high definition graphics. So this is a huge, maybe the biggest step forward in VR evolution. For me, is dynamic foveated rendering with eye tracking. It's such a big deal.
Are you a gamer, Tim?
I guess I wouldn't classify myself as a gamer, but I definitely was, and was like on Call of Duty. I had a clan called 416, and it was like Toronto's like premier Call of Duty clan. But I guess I got a bit busy, and VR brought me back fully into exploring gaming. But I'm kind of like right now getting my feet in the water, and I like exploring new types of games. Actually, I saw Amy Reynolds in here, and we've talked about games like Firewatch, and or I think there's another one made by the same developer called Outer Wild.
The Outer Wilds, that sounds right.
Yeah, I guess like I'm not playing first-person shooters anymore, but I'm playing anything that's catches my attention. I also like social VR, like VR chat and spaces like that.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Hey, Amy Reynolds, thanks for joining us, by the way. Sampler 19 is also chilling.
Hey,
looks like Mr. Tasselhoff found his way back to the live broadcast. This is your home, man. You can't leave us, okay? You gotta stay. Daniel Kaz is here, chilling as well, and Lindsay Sherman.
Hey, Lindsay Sherman, what's up?
We're big
another
fans of
Patreon and from Cloudhead Gaming.
Cloudhead Games,
yes.
Yes. Denny's just been like crushing it on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, he has.
I really appreciate his perspective on Twitter.
Yeah, me too. I like how he kind of pulls in from both sides of the story and tries to make us think of the other parts of the story that maybe we're not thinking of. Right. Because at the end of the day, he's in there trying to make things happen and trying to make comfortable VR solutions for people to play. Yeah, we demoed like 1,200 people at Game On Expo. We let some people play Pistol Whip as well, and no one had a bad experience.
Yeah, so it's really cool to have him give such an intimate perspective from someone who is doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
He's literally doing it. So to have him weigh in on conversations, I think is really awesome. We've got to get that guy on this show.
Oh, I know. That'd be great. That'd be absolutely great.
Really good. So Tim, PlayStation VR 2, yay or nay?
Yay. I'm also a big fan of backwards compatibility, and then I heard also, I think yesterday, that it's not going to be backwards compatible with games from PlayStation VR, and I think that that's a bit of a loss, just because people invest into these games, and to lose that compatibility. And I'm not sure. I mean, it's work, and backwards compatibility on any kind of system jump, and when we're talking about console, there's always a question: is it going to work with the old hardware, because it's a totally different baseline? So I can still appreciate and understand that things are different, but there's work that goes into emulating old hardware and getting it to work with new hardware, and I can appreciate that. But I think it's a loss for people who had believed and invested in PlayStation VR. But overall, I think PlayStation has amazing IP, and they always have great takes on the next generation of gaming and innovative new looks at interface. So I think that it's going to be a great platform.
I do too. And on backwards compatibility, I think that when people hear that, they immediately assume that they won't ever be able to play games that existed on PSVR on the PSVR 2, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there are a lot of developers who are already working on their PlayStation VR 2 versions of their PSVR games, and I think some of them will make the upgrades available for free. I don't think all of them will, but I do think some of them will. And when the games are quintessential, like Beat Saber, Job Simulator, stuff like that, people will pay for it either for the first time as a PSVR user newly with the PlayStation VR 2, or they'll pay for it again so they can have the advanced features. I could not tell you how many times I've bought Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Bros. 3. Those games are quintessential for me for gaming, and I have played them on every Nintendo platform that's ever come out. I just keep buying Super Mario 64 because I need it on my next thing, So
True.
I think people are going to do something similar with the PlayStation VR. People are going to buy Beat Saber. They're going to buy Job Simulator.
I've gone over this in my mind because there's a lot of people really passionate about it not being backwards compatible, and I can't figure out how they would just implement a system with all the different locomotion types with button pushes to make it an automatic thing. And I can't, so which means there has to be developer intervention, which means that costs money to somebody. Someone's going to lose here, whether it's the developers or the consumers. Maybe it will be a little of both. Maybe some of the developers, like you were saying, will come out and offer their games for free for people that have already purchased it, and maybe some will remaster the game completely to take advantage of dynamic foveated rendering, the full haptic triggers and dynamic, all the stuff that the PSVR offers, the facial haptics and the full graphics in HDR, right? And then you might have to rebuy the game. It's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
What I'd love to see is they've got the PlayStation Now service, which is server-side game streaming. And it's a service that I think is I haven't made the most out of it. A lot of people don't really know it exists. They can go back then. I mean, you've got PS2, PS3, PS4, now PS5 games streaming because you're doing that offsite, right? And I know for Quest, on SideQuest, there's Pluto, which is a service where you can stream VR games from
it's
a
pretty
PC that you don't own, right? And you can pay, by the hour to have Pluto stream PC games server side to your Quest headset. And I've heard some kind of rumors in the mill that we're going to see something similar coming from Meta directly. So I'd love to see Sony lean into PlayStation Now, and in the future for PlayStation VR to actually be streaming the games. In that case, they don't have to worry about the hardware that's on device because they can be pushing that all server side. And at the same time, it would mean that there wouldn't be a VR3. I mean, aside from the resolution constraints, the actual processing power wouldn't then be constrained to what you have at home.
Right. And I believe 1,000% that cloud gaming and streaming is exactly where VR will be in the future, that each headset we buy later on down the line will be a dummy headset that all it does is connect you to the internet. Quest will drop you directly into a Horizon room, right? You'll log into games with friends together. And Valve will do the same thing. Sony will do the same thing. This is absolutely where things are going, because they want to give you the highest end experiences to bring people into these things, which is going to, one, save PC VR gaming because people will be developing for PC platforms again, and two, will give the best experiences possible, which will drive headset sales. But the problem is, it's not going to happen. I don't see it happening for another decade, because I still talk to friends that still have that router that their ISP gave them 10 years ago, right? They try to do virtual desktop to their computer. They're in the other room separated by 3 brick walls. They move their arm, 10 seconds later, their arm moves. Do you know what I mean? So like latency is an issue. Connection speed's an issue. Having the correct hardware is an issue right now. But eventually all that stuff, that hardware dies, right? All that hardware will die off. People will be replacing things with Wi-Fi 6E, good, better routers that can penetrate walls and things like that better. And then we will be in a better place to make this happen. Right now, Meta is planning on releasing a dongle that you can get for the Quest Pro to give a direct Wi-Fi connection from your PC to the headset, because they found that, with Airlink, there's just not enough people out there that have the right kind of hardware. But eventually they will. And that's when cloud gaming will come in and it'll just sweep everything up. And I look forward to that future.
I'm very excited about it because, like a lot of people out there are using their Quest 2s as PC VR headsets. And they've got all this extra weight and all these guts in there that they don't need. Obviously they can all still use it as a standalone, which is great, being able to use it as both. But, when it goes to cloud, they'll be able to just take all of that stuff out, all of that, computer junk, and like streamline it and make it lightweight, comfortable, focus all of that space on creating high quality imagery, and like not having to have all the computational power on the device. So I think it's really exciting.
Same. And so yesterday, moving on, we got a new headset announcement, which we all knew was coming, but it is here, and we have learned all about the Pico 4, which looks like a Quest Pro competitor. It's very thin, very light, has eye tracking, has has high-res 4K high-res displays, pancake lenses, battery in the back, better weight. It has all of these things. It looks sick. And I heard a rumor from the rumor mill that Between Realities might be getting one of these coming in soon. What? So we will find out. Oh. Yes, that is just a rumor. I don't have 100% confirmation yet, but I hear it may be a thing.
Let's go.
So let's find out on that. They are creating an avatar system. They have recruited some of the top games from After the Fall to Demio, from Resolution Games to Walkabout Mini Golf. So they're really
Mini Golf.
Heck yeah! Woo!
Everyone loves Walkabout Mini
it's so
Golf.
Good.
Everyone.
It's so good, right? But I mean, this headset looks great. It obviously comes with some issues, like ByteDance owning the company, right? So I feel like that we should mention that the company behind this has done some sketch things. They are one of the few companies that I know about that not only harvest data from people's cell phones, but they pull your bio fingerprint data. They pull your facial recognition stuff, the stuff that no one's supposed to touch, right? They pull your calendars, your contact list, your GPS locations and history, and they download them all and they hand it over to the Chinese Communist Party, which is scary AF.
What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
I guess it's scary AF, and I'm also really wary about biometric data. I did some work a long time ago, 9 years ago, on headset glasses, smart glasses designed that would do pupil tracking for computing. And one thing I learned there is just how much information comes from the small movements that our eyes make.
huge.
It's an incredible amount of movement. And one thing that TikTok, which ByteDance makes, TikTok does is it has a great recommendation engine. The personalization that you get is the reason TikTok is such a compelling product and why it kind of hypnotizes people. And I deleted it off my phone a week after I got it because I could tell that it was doing something to me, that as I was looking at it, it was somehow getting better all the time. But it's because they're harvesting every single micro interaction that you're doing, and it's used to improve that recommendation engine. And my concern is that the Pico Neo 2 has eye tracking, and I'm concerned with this on every headset. And I think that understanding where that data is being used is really important, and having that upfront and shared in their documentation, and having me understand from a privacy perspective where that data is being stored and how it's being used. But I'd be much happier if that data was stored on device and that it was mine, and that it was used for foveated rendering, and that's all it's being used for. My concern is that it's going to be used like TikTok is using the data of how you swipe through TikTok, and instead it's going to be used to tailor that universe to being more engaging or addictive. And so that's something that I'd be concerned about in general, just given the track record.
Yeah, and I think that would only be a very small portion of the problem. I think the other part is we have China, who is a very major player in artificial intelligence, facial recognition, and being able to do things that very few other countries can, and being able to get every bit of information from every citizen throughout almost the world, and now being able to use eye tracking data, hand gestures, and all the rest of the bio data, along with your facial recognition and thumbprints and all that, puts them at a far superior place than almost any other country in the world, which can be a huge threat to all not just national security, but world security, right?
It's human security.
Humankind, right? I mean, these aren't people that care about their citizens. These are people who suppress people and use people, and you know what I mean? So it's very, very concerning. They've done some sketchy things in the past, and I don't know that's this will change, but we'll have to see. The fact is, there's this cool headset, it's got some cool games, and I don't know what to think about this. I'm very torn.
I mean, because here's the problem, because the thing is like, you don't set up an infrastructure like that for no reason,
right?
You don't have the capability of harvesting all of that data,
pumping it through AI,
use it,
right?
Like, so it's like to speculate as to whether or not this is going to be used for malicious intent is I think
about a government that has nuclear power that can tell you almost perfectly where crowds of people will be at any given time, where how people will react to situations, and where they might go during strikes and things like that. Like, this will give a government like this massive power.
Okay, let's
when you combine this data with something called psychographic profiling, when you're able to tell somebody's emotions by the small movements of their eye, that's when it gets a little bit scary, because then you can build a profile on somebody and say, as you said, is this person likely to go to the protests? Is this person likely to be here? And you'll have that information on them because they used your VR headset. So it can be concerning, especially when that separation between private and public powers and state power, as you're saying, Skiva, when that gets blurry, I don't want that data in the hands of a government or state party.
Right. And I get afraid when I start to think about where stuff like procedurally generated content is going, because if you can combine that biometric data and like your emotional state with procedurally generated content, then they can, for all intents and purposes, know before you do what needs to happen to keep you feeling a certain way. So they can like literally influence how you feel about the experiences that you're having by taking your biometrics and adding procedurally generated content to it. So
that's a great point. We're going to talk about that in a bit. That's awesome.
So really, like, I want to assume the worst here for a second. Let's assume that all of our fears here are completely founded, 100% inevitabilities. Okay, what what's the game plan? You know, like, what do we do? Do we like boycott something like this and like tell everyone not to buy it? Is it too late? Like,
this is all a really good question. I mean, we have companies like Malwarebytes and some of the leading antivirus and data protection services trying to present data to world powers to say, this needs to stop. This is a huge concern, and we need to ban this stuff from being able to be used because people don't understand what this data can do, right? And the fact that this isn't allowed to be launched in the US yet does say something. I don't know if this is part of Pico's plan that it's not coming to the US right now, because right now it's only going to Asian countries, and it does have a UK launch. So I don't know. I don't know if they're not allowed in here or if it's just part of their strategy to not launch in the US yet. So we will see. This is all very interesting. When this thing shows up here, am I going to put it on and use it? Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, Tim, can you answer my question? Like, is there like a worst case scenario game plan that we can do, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think the point about, right now, talking about it is important so that people understand, how powerful the data is. Mm-hmm. And then what has to happen is some kind of accord or human rights charter or policy has to come down to say this data is as sensitive as your heartbeat or your fingerprint, if not more so, that it has the ability to look into your mind and make very accurate predictions and explain this to the public. And then we need something better than EULA and we need better informed consent so people understand. And I think there's a solution, which is in edge computing. So when we keep data, when we want to use data for something like foveated rendering, we can do that without uploading it to the cloud. Mm-hmm. It can happen on device. So there's no reason why we can't get the benefits of this without showing all the data, giving up our cards. Like, we can get the best of both worlds, but people need to know about it, and there needs to be an agreement at a public and private level. And then it's, is Canada, is the United States, are we going to bring these products in or let these products launch without that kind of policy making ahead of time? And so I do wonder how quickly it's coming, if there's enough time to do that, and we should slow down a little bit. But also, as Skiva says, we get a cool new headset, we want to try it.
Man, we're just puppets. We're just puppets getting pulled around by strings.
We are, but it's always important to just talk about it, because awareness of these things has the ability to change perception, to change the way people consider things, right? So this is good. It's just good to talk about it. I am not saying that I'm not going to use this headset. It will not be my primary headset, but I do want to try it. I do want to see the tech, right? So this is all very interesting.
The first step is admitting you have a problem.
It is, and I have a problem.
Yes,
I am addicted to VR like no one's problem. And speaking of that, one of the last things I want to get to real quick here before we move on is we got a drop announcement today of something I was not expecting at all. And if I can find my button, I would love to play the video. Okay, so we have an announcement that Bone Lab, probably the most anticipated VR game that there is right now, is coming out on, you ready for this? On Thursday. Less than a week.
6 days.
6 days. We're going to have a PC VR launch of this and a Quest launch of this. And it's huge. This is a massive game that that Brandon's been working on along with the BoneWorks and the Stress Level Zero team. Since the pandemic started, they have gotten this to work on the Quest. It has all kinds of cool features, like being able to change avatars, being able to bring in your own custom modded avatars. So I'm going to be able to play Bone Labs as me.
Right.
How sick is that?
Yeah, well, it's just like wide open modding potential for this.
You can mod all kinds of things in this, and it looks so good. Everything looks fantastic about this game, and I'm so stoked about it because BoneWorks was one of the pivotal points of my VR life. There's Half-Life Alyx, and there was BoneWorks. So the two things that really like changed how I even thought of life, especially this game, because even Half-Life Alyx isn't as immersive as BoneWorks. In BoneWorks, everything is physics-based. When you look at something and you're trying to figure out a problem, instead of there being a linear way like in a standard video game, there you think about, how would I solve this problem in real life? I need to get in this building. Do I smash through the window with something heavy and crawl up in there? Do I stack things and try to get into this hole in the thing? Do I get on the roof and try to go down through the chimney? Do I figure out the circuits and open the door? Like, there's so many different ways to solve each problem in BoneWorks because it's simulating reality. Now, is it exactly the physics of the real world? No, it's a little bit of jank, but it's super fun. It's super duper fun. And this is one of those games that I was like, wow, so, we actually might be in a simulation.
Yeah, and I mean, I've really only scratched the surface of BoneWorks. That's kind of like one of my like VR card revocable offenses. I've really only scratched the surface. I've been in there, but not too much past the tutorial. And I'm wondering, like, do you think I need to like hurry up and like play BoneWorks this weekend and like get it in before this happens, or like do you think that a lot of people are going to be introduced to the world of BoneWorks through this game, and this will be like the new standard?
Well, I think they will, because this is on the Quest,
right? Oh, of course,
right? And it took a pretty beefy computer to run BoneWorks as it was. It wasn't when it first came out, especially, it wasn't super well optimized. It's a lot better now, and it runs great now. But now, a massive audience is going to be able to get into this game and really experience one of the coolest VR systems that there is.
Yeah.
And on such short note, I mean, there's just days away now. This is nuts.
That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
Capitalize on the hype.
Yeah.
Like, people get hyped when they see like launch trailers and announcement trailers and stuff, like, and then they watch that trailer for like 6-8 months, and then they don't even know when the game came out, or like, show it, drop it. Like, boom, capitalize on that hype. I'm all about this approach. So I'm excited.
I am too. I think this is going to be great. Did you get to play BoneWorks?
Amazing if there was like full body tracking in BoneWorks too, right? Yeah. Like,
it would
imagine crawling through like a tunnel or something to get out. I'm curious if there's any, going to the Quest, if there's any compromises on the physics engine, or I haven't seen a trailer for it yet or anything like that. Does it look the same? Is it a one-to-one?
It looks close. Port? It's not one-to-one completely, but like it's mostly a lot of just textures, right? The textures are downscaled, a lot of things like that, but it seems to be almost exact, besides the texturing of the characters and the lighting, right? So that's a big deal. This game, to me, had the best inverse kinematics that there was. Being able to look at my body and to see myself, it really brought me into the game.
It's my first time seeing this trailer, and how he just chucked that guy in front of that train was amazing. Just throws that body ragdoll in front of a flying train. That was good.
Yeah, it's so good. This is going to be a game changer for VR. All these people are going to get to see this, and we have heard that they are trying to get this to the PSVR 2 as well. There's no official announcement on the PSVR 2 yet, but they had mentioned that they plan on it.
Seems like a no-brainer,
right? So this is big. This is a big deal.
Yeah, this is cool. And also a little side note: you can now play Half-Life 2 in VR.
Oh my God, it's all I've been doing.
Legit.
It's all
I'm literally waiting for someone to make a bHaptics mod. I need the haptic devices.
I know. I agree. It's a big deal, but I'll tell you, I couldn't wait. This is probably my all-time favorite video game. Right? It's up there for me. Platforming is Mario. Right? First-person shooters is Half-Life.
Yeah.
These guys have done everything, and they have shown the gaming industry how to do things. When Half-Life comes out with something, it's to show the world and to show the rest of the gaming community how to use certain things. When Half-Life 1 came out, it revolutionized how first-person shooters were created, all the different things that you could do. When Half-Life 2 came out, it was all about physics. No one nailed physics yet, and Valve's like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Well, let me show you how this is done. And that's what they did. Right. And when Alex came out, it was all about showing how you can utilize virtual reality. So this was a groundbreaking game. And 18 years later, this feels like a new release that was made for VR. You have hand presence. You can grab things with each hand, throw things and break things by throwing them. Like, you can do all kinds of nutty things in this game that just shouldn't work And it's so good.
Nice.
Now, I will say that this is in beta. This is a public beta, and there are problems. 11 hours in, my game broke, and it took me like a day to get it to be able to work again. Okay, so don't think you're not going to have any problems. You will, but this is very far along. It's available to the public, and it's available for free if you have Half-Life 2 already.
Which is $10.
Yeah. And sometimes you can get it for like $1 because it's an 18-year-old game.
Yeah.
Right? And this game looks phenomenal, especially if you do the HD texture mod, which upgrades all the textures by 4 times, and it looks absolutely insane.
Side note, Portal is getting a free DLC, which is like RTX. It's like Portal RTX.
Yeah, ray tracing.
Like cranking the graphics.
Ray tracing.
I saw that today.
Yeah.
It looked beautiful.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling someone will do a VR mod for that. And then, we're in. Then we're in. Portal in VR, dude.
You want people throwing up? Portal's the way to go.
Yeah.
That will make you barf. A lot of people are having a hard time here. There's vehicles in Half-Life 2. Many vehicles and a lot of different movement types that were definitely not made for VR. So keep in mind that too. If you're going to try this, don't let this be your first VR experience. Make sure you have your VR legs, because this will test how much you can handle VR.
All mods in general, really. I would not recommend a mod to anyone as a first-time VR experience. And that's one of the points that Denny was making on Twitter recently. He's like talking about how these games weren't made for VR, and that people who are making games for VR are the ones that should have those first-time experiences. We have to get him on the show.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, so that's the news, right?
That is the news. Let's move on.
We're going to move on.
One more quick shout out to Roblox because I saw they dropped, I'm not sure if it's fully released yet or if they just showed it off, but I really thought it was interesting. It's just full face and expression and gesture tracking using like your laptop's built-in camera. So not necessarily on a VR headset, although I like going into Roblox in a VR headset, but actually just using the camera on your laptop. So it really helps in that social metaverse experience of being able to communicate with friends and express your emotions.
It does, which is wild because I don't even have voice chat in there. Right. So that's interesting that they're really trying to bring presence. And I understand why they don't have voice chat, because it's like 99% 5-year-olds.
Can you imagine?
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. But Roblox truly has some of the most content you will ever find anywhere. And it really fits the bill of a type of metaverse platform, right? Because it's just unlimited content generated by users. There's a lot of good stuff in there. There's even realistic looking first person shooters that look nothing Roblox style. So it's a really powerful engine. And I can't wait for its Quest release, because that will bring a lot of people in. So
yeah, like 1 million.
Yeah. And I remember when Roblox dropped that image and then Meta made them take it down, right? And we still haven't heard anything of its full release. So it's very interesting. We know it's coming and we still don't know when. But that will also bring a massive crowd. Yeah,
maybe they'll do a BoneWorks and it'll just like come out next Thursday.
Yeah, that's probably what they'll do. Yeah,
that's my style. I would love for if you're out there listening, developers, and you're wondering what your marketing strategy is, just ignore all other advice and take mine. Just drop the trailer and then drop the game. Capitalize on the hype.
That's true. I think that's the way to go. You got no one bugging you about fixing things. You take your own time. Yeah. Valve time, right? I mean, you kind of play the Valve time game. You do your thing and you release a good product. Capitalize on the hype. Yep. Okay, so we're shifting gears now. All right. Cool. This was really good, though. This was a healthy discussion about the newest stuff in VR, which we don't always get to do. Right. So thanks for making sure that we got to cover these topics. There's just so much. It's all so exciting. There is. It is very exciting. Yeah. This is like the best time ever to be in VR. Yeah. And that's just the highlights. Yeah. We're just scratching the surface here. But I want to dive in a little bit to the reason why we invited Tim onto the show today. We saw his talk at VRTO, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. And, it's like almost like laughable without sounding disrespectful at like what the talk was, right? Like, so Tim at VRTO has a talk entitled, paraphrasing here, how to build a real life holodeck. Like from Star Wars, from Star Trek. Like from Star Trek, like a room where you walk in and speak into existence an immersive experience. And I say it's almost laughable because to me it sounds like
like, you know, like obviously VR is like the holodeck, but it isn't the holodeck. And you're talking about building the holodeck, weren't you, Tim? Yeah,
exactly. It's a big idea. It's something I wrote an article maybe a year and a half ago, and at that point, some of the references predated the current tech. So I was talking about like GPT-2 or DALL-E, but not DALL-E 2, and it was like really nascent generative AI technology at that point compared to where we're at today. But my background and experience is both in conversational AI and in other emergent technologies, including AR, VR, and what I was seeing was this intersection between the two, and a television show that I grew up with, and I think inspired me at a young age and to pursue a career in technology was Star Trek Next Generation and the original series. And so at VRTO, I reached out to them with a submission for a pitch for a talk, and it was based on this article. And I said, you know, I want to explain how to build a holodeck.
That's just hilarious.
Idea. This is how you do it.
That just sounds so funny to me, to like actually take a legit stab at what it would take to do that, you know, because it just seems so science fiction to me. Like, it seems unattainable.
10 years ago it was, right? Now we have all the pieces, and that's one of the things you were talking about. We have almost every piece that it takes. Now we have to merge these things together, and all of these pieces continue to get better. Just like this, we were talking before the show about NVIDIA releasing some new insight and some new things that they're working on about being able to speak something, right? And having AI generate 3D models and 3D environments out of what you're speaking.
Right. So your talk, Tim, kind of like laid out like almost like a timeline or something for how that comes to be. And, you know, without like redoing your entire talk here, maybe you can kind of like give us like a bit of like the high level approach to how something like this could possibly start to come into existence.
Right. Yeah. So if we looked at the holodeck, and I used a specific episode from Star Trek Next Generation to pull this out. I think it was season 1, episode 13. And Riker creates a program. He's the second in command. He creates a program in the holodeck just by describing it. And he wants to have a conversational partner. So he describes the conversational partner, and her name is Minuet. So he describes her and her personality and her appearance in the setting. He says, I want to be, in this jazz bar in New Orleans, and he gets that. And he says, no, a smaller audience, and he gets that. And he's iterating on the experience just using natural language. And so I started the talk off by looking at a drawing of the holodeck and talking about the components of it and what makes up a holodeck and how we can create one. And so you've got really two components. You've got the arch, or the computer, and that's how you create programs, how you control the simulation. And then you also have the matter projection array that's in the walls. And I do call out at the beginning of this talk that I'm only talking about the arch, the computer now, and the matter projection array is for my next talk. And so I will cover that at next year's VRTO. I'll talk about how you're going to do the part where you get this physical environment and how you could feel the simulation. But the first part is really interesting because we have all the pieces now. And to Skiva's point, the CEO of NVIDIA just talked about this week. And today they showed off this new model that you can describe what you want to see, what model you want, and it generates an infinite amount of that model. And they said using a standard discrete GPU at home, like an NVIDIA card, you'll be able to generate, like, I think they said 20 models a second or something like this. and so you can say, give me a model of Toronto. You get a model of Toronto. You can say, I want a different one, or make this New York, or give me a different city, give me a European city, and you're going to see that model. So that's just one part, that's scene generation. But the 3 parts that I lay out in this talk are, I use a metaphor of puzzle pieces, but the first one is natural language processing, and the second one is scene generation. And and that's generative AI. That's what we're seeing with DALL-E,
right.
But bringing that into 3D meshes. And the third one is code generation. So this is actually generating the functional code, because it's one thing to set the stage. You want to be able to set a 3D stage, and that's amazing on its own when we get there. That's what NVIDIA is working on right now. And Meta showed off with at Connect, I think, last year, was describing a scene and getting saying, I want
put some trees over there. Yeah,
totally. I want this over there. And the gesture is a big part of it. That's a good point, Alex, is that you want to use a combination of both natural language, but because we have the affordances of body tracking and gesture tracking, we should be able to point and say, I want a mountain over there. And move that chair over here and be able to direct the space like that.
And with eye tracking, that's even bigger, because you're looking where you want.
Is that it's if I want to say, give me a speedboat on this island, I want a yacht or something, I should also be able to describe how that yacht functions, and I should be able to say, I need maybe this is a sailboat, and I should have wind and make this function like a sailboat. I want realistic physics. Make this keel functional. So it's all about like creating an accessible and democratized world builder that takes down the barriers of building everything in development platforms or in Unity, and creates something where you can go in and just describe what you want to see and build your own corner of the metaverse. And then at the end of the talk, I talk more about what this is how we can build this, but should we build it, and why should we build it? What are the potential consequences of building it? What are the benefits of building it? And where this takes us if we look strategically and project this out, 5 or 10 or 15 years, like what is the future of the metaverse if it's driven by this democratized content creation?
Now, I remember from your talk that, by the way, I find all of this insanely fascinating. I think this is really interesting. Yep. And, Wolf Raza in the chat, what's up, dude? He says, wait, matter projection, hard light is not a thing yet, right? That's hilarious. And obviously, you're not ready to talk about that. But the fact that you are seemingly confident that you'll be able to talk about how something like matter projection could be a thing by, this time next year is just it's mind-boggling to me. Like that's the hard part, because everything that you're talking about now, I can wrap my head around. I can wrap my head around how these processes and these these transformer AI programs are able to kind of feed off of all of the information out there and push stuff out, and then a different thing can take those flat images and create three-dimensional I can follow that line of thinking. But to Wolf Raza's point here, when you start to then think about how are we going to fill a room with these things, that is completely mind-boggling to me. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you have to say about that when you're ready. But it's not it's not insane to think about, right? That's what you're basically suggesting.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll get there. And the only thing I'll say is I think it's mostly about not necessarily how we do it, but getting the experiential fidelity to what we see on Star Trek. So the point I'd like to make is that the simulation, we should be able to ask for a dining room table to sit at with our family, and then we should be able to sit at the dining room table and feel the dining room table. And and so it's mostly about being able to touch and feel the metaverse, not necessarily the specific technology, whether that's hard light or holographic projection.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah, I look forward to these days. I look forward to being able to go into Neos and say, give me this, instead of sitting there and ripping things apart and animating things and adding logics and drivers to things. Just say it and have it be, right? I look forward to my dumb assistant things like Google and Alexa to actually be able to give me what I'm looking for, instead of like doing something completely random. It's like, how did you come to that conclusion? Where in your computer mind did you think that's what I meant, right? So we have a long way to go in some of these aspects, and not so long of a way to go in a lot of these different aspects, which is wild to even think about, that we're so close with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, on the topic of the metaverse, Tim, you said in your talk that your wife and you had basically like put together kind of like a framework for defining what the metaverse is. And I've heard that you kind of have like a different approach to like maybe some of the terminology that you like when discussing about this. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so we talk about these ideas a lot, and it was a few years ago we wrote this article called "Getting Ahead of the Virtual Wild West." So that's what I referenced in the talk, and I'll just share it here in the chat if anybody wants to take a look. My wife's name is Lisanne Benhammer, and we wrote this article years ago, and it was really wild because we talk about mapping out the social spatial matrix, the future of the metaverse, and that was before Facebook had changed their name to Meta. And we actually, if you go through this article, we draw this 2x2 matrix, and we call out the spectrums of the future of networks, social networks in the metaverse. And one of the quadrants, which is on the spectrum of either local or global networks, and then also things tied to real or virtual space. And so we call the bottom right corner the metaverse, and we said Facebook is right in there, and that was when Horizons was new. We said they're going to be the metaverse. But then we also talked about these 4 quadrants. So we have the localized village, the virtual well, and the temporary and permanent autonomous zones. And we describe kind of like how it's not just one top-down world. We've had this discourse over the last few years of who's going to own the metaverse, and that's completely wrong from my perspective. I don't think that any one company is going to own it, although they're all saying, Fortnite or Roblox are saying we're the metaverse, this is our metaverse, but we're starting to hear our metaverse, and so okay, so now we have multiple metaverses, and I've heard other terms like omniverse, being this overarching multiple verses. And the term that I introduced in that talk is pluriverse. It's actually an old term. It's a term that describes a society of multiple pluralities, in the traditions of pluralistic society, that we should all be able to exist even though we're different. So pluralism, it has a rooting in Canadian politics, actually, going back to Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, and he brought in and encouraged multiculturalism in Canada and this idea of a pluralistic society. So the pluriverse is really at its core that we shouldn't have one overarching metaverse that is designed top down to tailor to a one set of needs. We should imagine a future of the spatial internet where we have multiple different universes, that people can create their own universes and their own interfaces, and that they might overlap. There might be interoperability between them. So we might see like NFT technology that allows your avatar, like I think what's it called, Real Me,
Ready
Player One, like that avatar, the web XR avatar system, which is interoperable. You can bring it to different platforms like Mozilla Hubs, and we should see some of that be kind of overlapping in this mesh, but we're also going to see networks that exist isolated on islands that aren't a part of necessarily that interoperability, but all of them combined create the pluriverse, and that's okay. Like nobody needs to own it. It's great to have diversity in that space, And something that my wife, Lucienne, talks a lot about in her own academic work is around the importance of accessibility. And that's something that I introduced in the talk as well. It's just that the democratization of world building technology from the holodeck and this voice interface will allow people to create the worlds that they want to inhabit. But not only the worlds, but also the interfaces. And I think VR chat's a really interesting example of that, and so is Roblox, that as soon as you have a lot of user-generated content, you start seeing variations of the experience. And a really interesting example of where that can go awry is recently VRC removed some plugins and some UGC content, and one of the things that got removed was a plugin called VRCCC, closed caption, and it was being used by the deaf community to actually create subtitles so that they could understand what was going on when video content was being played. And that's just one example, but that's part of the interface experience itself. And so if you're designing this world, you should be considering that not everybody, is quote unquote normal, a normal body or a typical body, and that when you're creating and trying to do this top-down creation, you're going to create all kinds of mismatch experiences for the diverse folks and the wide range of people who, most people don't actually fit what we would consider normal. And everybody has their own specific needs. And so if we can embrace this idea that we should be able to tailor every aspect of our interface experience, that gets to the idea of the pluriverse, that we should be able to change how we experience the world, but also build the world ourselves and have control over that content creation.
Yeah, no one company owns the internet, and the metaverse is the exact same thing. Imagine if we told people, go to www.betweenrealities.tv, that is the internet.
Right.
No, it's not. And that's a very closed off way of looking at it. There are many platforms out there that attach the word metaverse to their social sites, and I feel like that's okay, but just giving people the knowledge that is not all there is. This is just one corner of a place that you can go to do a certain thing, but there's many places, a full web of opportunity, from Web3 to Neos to VR chat to all the games you play and the places that you go and the traveling between there. It's all an interconnected thing, so it isn't just one place, and it's important for people to get that.
So,
for sure.
I mean, because I was sitting there thinking of that, you basically took the words out of my mouth, like comparing it to the internet with websites is like, the pluriverse with VR experiences or immersive experiences. And I'm wondering, Tim, in your perspective, is that like an accurate comparison, or are we missing something?
No, it's a really accurate comparison. Yeah, we need it to be open. Like that's the challenge right now. The grand challenge is we need to see the next step as not this monolithic top-down one metaverse, but that there needs to be interoperability. There's also some things that the web doesn't do great either, which is accessibility, and I think that's another really key point of where we can improve on this next step, because with accessibility of the web, we have alt text, but we're still all looking at this through specific browsers. The potential now is you could create your own browser just by describing what you need, and you could ask for every website to be reinterpreted, and maybe you're not neurotypical and you prefer your information to be conveyed, no ads, everything left aligned, and you want high contrast between things, and you want it a more straightforward navigation, and you're just scrolling through the content. And being able to change the way the content is consumed at that level is not right now even possible with the web. So I think you're right on the money with like the idea that this should be an open web, and that we should be able to create our own networks within it, and we need a protocol that's open in the way that web technology is. But I think we also need to release the controls, and it's not just the access to controls, because you could make your own browser, but you're going to have a team, and you're going to have a lot of technical knowledge to be able to do that. But if you wanted to do that, and you could use your own natural language to describe the ideal interface for you, that's what makes it accessible and democratized to everybody. So I think it's also a big part of this is it's the way we experience the pluriverse, and making that something that is has a plasticity to it and a flexibility, so that people can change it to suit their needs.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Cody's here, by the way. He's a long time Between Realities Patreon.
One of the first.
One of the very first. Yeah. And fun fact about Cody, he has never lost in Demio.
Wow.
Never lost. I've played with him every time. We kill the boss every single time. He's never lost.
Dang.
Yeah. So anyway, what's up, Cody? Good to see you, buddy.
How's
Also, VR Jungle Podcast and VR Havoc Clips also hanging out with us.
How's it going?
So continuing with that a little bit, like, if the I'm like almost like immediately like thinking about just skipping that and going straight to like when we're talking about stuff like biometric data and emotional information and all that stuff, like wouldn't a procedurally generated experience just give you what you need without you having to even ask for it at a certain point? Like, you just start using it, and based on how you're using it, it says, oh, this guy is not neurotypical, let's fix this, and like immediately can just kind of like start to implement some of the stuff, like that's like
super interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I think that would definitely work to extent, and then there's risks inherent with that I think you alluded to before when we were talking about the news, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's scary to me. That is scary, and that's where I see all of this stuff going. Like, I see the programs that we're using our biometric data to understand our emotional state before we even do. Like, it will identify you as mad before you're able to identify yourself as mad. And then they can start to change an experience based on that information before you have the time to react to it.
We see some of this to an extent now with how current social media works, right? With how Facebook works and things like that,
TikTok.
where they are trying to control your perception and creating a reality that's different than this one. There's a huge, a huge issue where maybe the companies that are trying to create this will try to take advantage of that and try to control and steer your perception into the direction that they want, right? Does that mean we don't go down this route? I don't think so, right? It means that we talk about it, that we all try to figure out better ways. We discuss ethics and morality and things like metaverse creation and VR creation. And we take a stance when companies do things that we don't like, and we come up with better ways to do things. So this is all super interesting, because ultimately we are going to a place where eventually you will be able to speak your own things into existence, but then AI with the help of your emotions, brain-computer interfacing, and speech, we will be able to, it will customize things on the fly to how we feel.
Yeah.
So
I just don't want to lose my agency. That's the part that really scares me, is just losing our agency over our emotional state. Based on the experiences that we're having. And we're like already kind of getting there. Like, that's why you deleted TikTok. It's because it's like reading you. It's like, oh, no, you don't like this that much. Oh, no, you really like this. Let's give you more of that. Like, changing it. Yeah. We're already there. And that's without biometrics.
And they address this in Star Trek. They actually have something called holo addiction. And you have to go, there's an episode with Lieutenant Barclay, which he is the nickname Broccoli in this episode. And so he is really significant social anxiety, and he uses the holodeck as this place to explore his fantasies, but also how he wants to how he wishes his interactions with the crew would go. So it also incorporates what looks like a deep fake, in that he is using the appearance of his crewmates and playing out fantasies on how he wish he could interact with them or fall in love with them. And the whole episode centers around how he becomes lost in this obsession. And I think that that's another risk involved with procedural content and democratizing control. This is one of the consequences I talk about in the presentation, is the risk of addiction. And I appreciate your input about biometrics and the fact that procedurally getting that feedback would just enhance that, because we could create dopamine loops, and we could get reward responses for feeling angry in a game, and that creates addictive propensity.
Big time. And like Constant Change Media in the chat says, to be fair, we've been getting emotionally primed that way since the 1950s. And you're not wrong. Like I think about something like, like the readily availableness of pornography. Like the fact that as a man, I don't know, men, I can only speak as a man because I'm a man, but like men are in my manly experience driven very much by the like biological, what's the word I'm looking for there? It's like there's like a biological incentive for me to like witness and look at images of women and like, just like chase this constantly. And there are people today who get addicted to pornography, like they're looking at the image of a naked person, like hundreds of naked people every day. Like you're looking at a naked woman that is like in the proportions that are like insanely rare, but just like that's all you look at now, and you're looking at it every day. Like you're seeing way more naked women in a single afternoon than men used to see in their entire lives. So that is like, I feel like there's a lot of weight there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think addiction is an interesting thing, because if you look at my behavior with VR, you could absolutely say I'm addicted already. I mean, every second I can be in there, I'm in there, and I'm experiencing things that in situations that bring me pleasure, and being able to go in and go through Half-Life and take out the Combine and rescue everyone at the end, like, and then hopping from there into like social platforms like Neos, and where I can see my imagination fully realize and do anything that I can think of. I feel like it's very addictive. And what kind of constitutes addiction? Is it that there is withdrawal physically afterwards, or is it that you just think something is better and you don't want to stop doing it, right? Like
here's the point that I was trying to get to, is like the holodeck addressed it, because this guy being able to fulfill his fantasies in a truly immersive way, in my opinion, is seemingly more dangerous than me being addicted to porn on my phone. Like if I got addicted to holodeck porn, that I think would be a way more substantial thing. And sure. I guess then my question is what is it about, being immersed in the experience that makes that such a more profound, or like a bigger issue or a bigger problem? Do you see what I'm getting at here, Tim?
Yeah. And this goes to like the Paleolithic caveman mentality that you described as well, as there's like innate physiological drives and dopamine triggers to specific stimuli that we will feel. And I think that full immersion makes you feel those even more. It's like, to the point where, people in VR chat talk about, what's it called? Phantom touch.
Sense, yeah.
Phantom sense. So this is because it's so immersive, and you have this great sense of presence that you can even start feeling the input from nerves that don't have any kind of haptic input or output. So I think that there is something about being fully immersed that triggers those physiological, deep psychological responses, and so that makes the risk of addiction greater. I think that the risk goes a lot higher when we have biometric data and profiling, which can lead to sentiment analysis and the ability to the program to respond to our emotions. And so that, I think, would really take the addiction to VR that we might start feeling now, or the fascination, because you're right, Skiva, there's like a line of like, do I have an addiction or do I really just enjoy it? And am I having fun in BoneWorks, or do I have to play this all the time and I feel withdrawal when I'm not playing it? I think that you cross that line as soon as you start getting a really tight dopamine loop, and you start missing that dopamine when you're not doing it, and then absolutely I think you can get withdrawal symptoms and feel compelled to and have it be a disruptive force in your life, and that's when addiction would become harmful and detrimental.
So there's a lot of doom and gloom here. If we're being honest, there's a lot of doom and gloom, but just to kind of like start to put a bow on this, I do think that there is a very beautiful future in front of us. Like, I personally exist in optimism. I think it's important to have these discussions and to talk about the potential of this technology, and like in what ways that if we aren't careful, we could like dig ourselves into a hole that we can't get ourselves out of. But for the most part, I do believe that this technology is being used to connect us and enlighten us in ways that is expediting our evolution as people. And I do think that we're going to get to a point where we are capable of understanding what we're getting ourselves into, of metering it or putting parameters on the experiences that prevent these things from getting way too out of control. And I am optimistic about the future. I think that when automobiles were first being invented, people were like, well, we could never have thousands of these things on the street. There's too much danger, but like we figured out a way, and like there's obviously negatives that come with it. We will always, there's no escape from the duality. If you have the cards out there will be accidents, and we're going to see plenty of that in VR as we move forward. But I think that the benefits will far outweigh the negatives, and I think that we're on track for an amazing and beautiful existence as humans as we continue to plunge into the future.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about both the consequences and also the potentials or the opportunities with this technology as well. To me, it's the democratization of asset creation, the rise of a creative class, this exponential explosion in creativity and content generation, and new economies. So like bottom up, creator-owned economies, and that's a part of Web3 technologies. We're going to be able to. There could be people right now who are stuck in a dead-end job, who aren't happy in their life, but really, in their heart, they want to build new worlds. And the thing that's holding them back is that they didn't have the financing to go to school or opportunities presented to them, and the access to generative art and natural language coding and tools that make it possible for them to build exciting new experiences that people want to play, or design fashion for the metaverse. That's something that's what excites me, is that I think that we're going to see this new creative class rise out of this as soon as we have tools that become accessible to everybody.
Amen. I think we are already seeing that happen with stuff like YouTube, and TikTok. Like there are normal people just using their phones to become celebrities. Like they just use the tool. They're like, hey, what's up? I'm here and I'm making a TikTok, and I don't come from a long line of movie producers or anything, but I'm about to become famous. And then they make a video of themselves doing whatever, and they use these platforms and tools to blow up and change their lives. I was stuck in a dead-end job as a server, and then I was like, hey, I want to be involved in the VR space. So I bought a camera and plugged it into my computer, and 3 years later, I work in the VR industry. I think that we're already seeing evidence of that, but using this technology is only going to just like exponentialize the effects. And I think it's cool. I'm excited for it.
I think it's cool too. I think we have a bright future as long as everyone pays attention. You pay attention. There's a lot of things driven by money and profit that could take this in the wrong way. But if everyone really uses their voice and communicates over the internet and really shares data with each other to be able to prevent a lot of these things from going awry. I think we absolutely can do that, and we can make this a beautiful and a wonderful technology for the future. So I'm stoked. Let's go.
Tim, it's been really great having you on the show and having you share your perspective with us on all of this stuff. We, like I said earlier, we knew that you would be a good fit for a conversation here on our podcast, and I am happy to say that you did not disappoint. So thank you so much for spending your time with us, and maybe just tell us what what the best way to stay in touch with you would be if we want to continue to follow your projects.
Sure. I mean, anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter or on the web if you're interested in just taking a look at some of my work. I'll drop in the chat.
We have links in the description
website.
too.
I'm trying to get better at tweeting on Twitter. So, if I had some followers, I'd probably be more motivated to tweet.
So,
like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe.
I appreciate the follow. I will follow back, and I'm going to send out a tweet anyways to just test the waters. So follow me on Twitter. But always, I guess this is really uncool, but I spend a lot of time still on LinkedIn connecting with a professional network, so I'll post my LinkedIn on there as well.
Well, down on the monitor right below me here, you can see the links, and also in the description of this video, you can go and just click those very easily and get over to Tim and check out what he's doing and follow his social media platforms. And this has been absolutely great. Super stoked that we met you at VRTO and that you are here with us today on the show.
Yeah, it was also just VRTO was so interesting because I presented the possibility of doing this talk to them, but then everything aligned too, because there was Blair Renault doing his lo-fi talk on building the lo-fi holodeck, but also Pixamondo was there talking about their real-life holodeck, their massive screens. So it became Star Trek themed somehow.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Didn't it? Yeah,
it was really awesome.
Yeah, and they actually worked on Star Trek. Right? So there was lots of Star Trek stuff happening. It's so cool that
it was just happenstance and very nerdy, and I loved it.
We'll be there next year.
I love that all of the nerds in the world are able to create these awesome shows and movies and books, and then all everyone else goes, that's awesome, let's make that real. And that's what we're seeing with virtual reality and the metaverse and all of these cool things that we get to talk about every week. So let's keep creating.
Everybody go follow Tim Bettridge.
Yep.
Tim, thank you so much for being here, man. It's been a real pleasure. And with that, we're going to eject you. So say goodbye to Tim, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And he's gone, never to be seen again.
Oh, that was great.
It was. And I feel like it was good. We got to do like a good half of the show talking about everything that's new, and then a good half of the show diving into some of Tim's perspective and peeling away the layers.
It was great.
What we're getting into.
Great episode. Knew it would be. Absolutely.
It was great.
Yep.
And it was great because of all of you, right? Who are sitting here and listening, and maybe you're here live with us right now, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Red/Ace snuck in here. Arcanian Bluebell snuck in here. Oh, dude, Roy Boy with the schmeckles. Woohoo! He got the schmeckles, the 30 schmeckles, and he says, fascinating talk, great show, only found here in the Between Realities. Thank you, guys. Dude, thank you.
Thank you, VR Roy Boy. Thank you.
Thank you for your donation, and thank you for your support. Amy Reynolds in the chat. Thank you for being here. CreeperBetty and Arcanian and Bluebell, who I think I just mentioned, but hi, Bluebell. Thanks for showing up.
What's up?
Go watch the beginning of the show. Mike Reynolds, Tribe Grey Wolf hanging out in the chat, and VR Jungle Podcast. My boy Cody, thanks for dropping in, brother. Constant Change Media, thanks for your contributions to the conversation. And Wolf Raza, if you're catching this later, thank you as always for being Wolf Raza. I appreciate you. Mike Newton, our wonderful Patreon as well, another classic in the can. Thank you, Sir Hussein X. Thank you for being here, and all of you who have watched this with us live. It means the world to us.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And next week we will do it again, and we'll be bringing our friend in, Jay Bratt, who is a VR content creator on YouTube and on social, has done things like spending 10 days straight in VR without taking his headset off, and is also an Oculus ambassador or a Meta ambassador or whatever they're called today. Very much into the VR scene, and we'll get to chat with him about all things virtual reality.
Crushed his channel, dude.
Yeah.
I literally watched him go from nothing to was it like 30 or 40K now, if not more.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's great content.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's really, really nice guy too. We got to meet him at that Meta store opening.
Yeah.
And it was a great
Fantastic.
time. Yeah, so we are very excited to have him. Hey, Dad Cade, what's up, man? Good to see you. I recognize that logo. It's been a long time. All right, that's it from us, right? We're between realities. This was another podcast in the bag. Thanks, Upload VR. Thanks to our guest, Tim. Thanks to VRTO for having us out there and introducing us to all of those amazing people that we met. And thank you for listening. We will see you next week with Jay Bratt.
Bye-bye.